Happy New Year. Oh my gosh. Welcome to a new year. Welcome to a new you. Welcome to new content with the Culture Academy LLC. There is so much to celebrate. We have made it to a year being in business, and we are so excited to continue with this Leader Logistics series. Class is now in session. Let's go. I hope you're excited to get this party started. Like I mentioned before, the Culture Academy LLC has been in business for 1 year. Raise the roof. It's our birthday. It's our birthday. January is so significant for us. And as us as a business, and for me personally too, January 1st is my birthday. And so there's lots to celebrate. But before we go any further, I have got to give you my receipts. Who is this person in front of you? I'm so glad you asked. My name is Dr. Kiana Obeng, affectionately known as Dr. Q, and I am the CEO, founder, and the culture strategist, the culture queen, let's be clear, of the Culture Academy LLC. I have so many years of experience in the field of education and in the field of private business. Let me tell you about education first, because that's kind of where I have spent most of my time. 20 plus years in education. I've served as a teacher, I've served as an instructional coach, an instructional systems specialist, a fancy name for a coach, a professional practice improvement specialist, another fancy name for a leadership coach. And I am back in the building for year number 7 as a building administrator. And so I have lots of experience in the education sector. In fact, my doctorate degree is in educational leadership. Go figure. I also served in the private business sector as a tax accountant and an audit accountant. So I am well versed in both the field of education and the business field when it comes to leadership. So trust me, you're in good hands. Buckle up because we are talking about managing and delegating. Here we go. So, one thing that hasn't changed is the fact that we're going to ground our work today with this quote by John C. Maxwell. If you want to do a few small things right, do them yourself. But if you want to do great things and make a big impact, learn to delegate. So, our objective for today is to equip you, leaders, with actionable strategies to develop skills in managing staff and delegating effectively. This will help us to enhance team performance and foster a collaborative work environment. We're going to make sure that you're getting strategies, tools, takeaways, things that you can turnkey and easily implement as soon as you get back to your organization, because we want to make sure that you are always ready so you don't have to get ready. As you know, great leaders often make data driven decisions. And so our topics for this leader logistics series have come from data that was collected. We have asked people all over, leaders, aspiring leaders, what are the things that are your top 5 concerns? And as we analyzed the data, these were the top 5 concerns: managing time effectively, developing and managing professional learning plans, managing staff and delegating effectively, and that's what we're talking about today, navigating data driven decision making, and long range planning and calendar management. And so, our first 3 sessions, or our first 2 sessions, if you will, managing time effectively, go back to our archives, it's there. Developing and managing professional learning plans, that was our Saturday school in December. And now here we are, managing staff and delegating effectively, our January Saturday school. Are you ready? Because I am. Let's get it. Let's go. We're finding at the Culture Academy LLC that doing these self assessments really help us to ground our work. And so here are 5 questions that you should consider before going any further into today's session. Do you clearly communicate expectations and the roles to your team? How often do you delegate tasks to others? And do you follow up appropriately? Do you match tasks to team members based on their strengths and skills? How do you handle accountability within your team? Are you open to feedback from staff? And when you get the feedback, if you're open to it, that is, how do you act on it? If you answered yes, or I don't know, or no to any of these questions, any of them, then guess what? You are in the right place. Let's dive in a little bit deeper now that we have taken the self assessment. If you've taken the self assessment that we just went over together, you will notice that these top 5 areas are the areas that were brought about in the questions in the self assessment. So, the first thing we talked about communication. Without clear communication, there is confusion. Period. The end. We have to make sure that everything we do or say is clearly communicated to get the best results. The second thing that came out in that self assessment is whether or not we delegate, but not only delegate, follow up. Remember, delegate, but the follow up is just as important. Remember that delegation is not just about getting rid of things off your to-do list, but it really grounds itself in building trust, development of your team, and also empowerment of your team. So don't just think about it as just ways to get rid of stuff off your plate. It's giving your staff ways to grow, to learn, and to build trust. Another thing that came out in that self assessment is matching tasks to strengths. When you do not leverage the expertise and the strength in your building in your organization, it can lead to potentially waste and frustration. There are things that people will excel at if you take the time to figure out what their area of expertise is. Okay, I am so passionate about that thing right there. If you don't know, like, let's not waste time. Let us ensure that everybody is using we're use everybody not using, but we're maximizing everybody's potential by leveraging their strengths. Now, when we talked about number 2, we talked about delegate, but if you delegate and don't have any accountability, uh, they cancel each other out. You have to make sure that you are, as a leader, ensuring that not only are you delegating, but there is some sort of accountability measures in place to ensure that everybody's doing what they need to do. Lastly, feedback and openness. A previous supervisor of mine would always say feedback is a gift. And let me tell you, that was a tough pill to swallow for me. How in the world is someone telling me what I'm doing right or wrong, and more so on the wrong part, a gift? Listen, feedback is a two-way street for improvement. That's why you got to make sure that that feedback is specific and it's actionable. Don't just kind of, you did a great job. No, be very specific and be able to receive feedback and put a thing in place that says, I need my feedback to be specific and actionable so that I can do better. But at the end of the day, feedback is for improvement because we all want to get better. At least I hope so. So now let's get into the strategies, okay? So we have the topic of clear communication. If you are not clear in your communication and your expectations, it is a recipe for disaster. I've seen it, I've experienced it, it is a recipe for disaster. You have to make sure that everyone is on the same page. How do you do that? You speak the expectation, you write the expectation, you post the expectation, you put it in a handbook somewhere. Everybody needs to know what the expectation is, and if they don't know, they need to know where to find it. So, how do we ensure that we do that? We make sure that our mission, our vision, our expectations, our goals, our objectives, all of those things are outlined, stated, presented, and we can use the strategy of a SMART goal. Remember, SMART goals are specific, they're measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. These are, if we kind of take that formula of a SMART goal when we are spelling out our expectations or the who, what, when, and all of that, that is an easy way to bring clarity to our communication. And we talk about the 5 W's or the 4 W's or whatever W's you want to call it. That also works when it comes to delegation and follow up. We want to use the strategy again of the who, what, when, how, why framework to ensure that we delegate effectively. Something that I use is it's called a plan, do, check, act. Um, it's a formula for what do you call it? Continuous improvement. It's also a way that it's like a RACI. I don't know if you guys heard of a RACI, responsible action, uh, contributor, and I is basically let me not even embarrass myself right now, but it's a document to say, okay, we're having this meeting. At the end of this meeting, who's taking lead, who's responsible, what's the action that they're going to do, what notes or follow-up do they need, and what's the suspense, when is it due. And that's kind of how you delegate. And then whenever we have meetings, we go and revisit that document, the who, what, when, who was supposed to do what, was it done, when was it supposed to be done by. And that is just some ways that we make sure, one, that there's clear communication, that there's delegation and follow up. Now, when we give in delegating, because we said delegate, 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 we want to make sure that we are delegating to maximize everybody's potential and leverage their strengths. And so we want to make sure that we're matching tasks to strengths. And one way that you can do this, a strategy that you can do this, is by conducting a skills or inventory, a strengths finders, some sort of activity where you kind of see who is good at what are their communication styles, how do they like to be communicated to, how do they like to communicate, who is orange, green, purple. You got the color assessment, true colors, you got the strength finders, you got the disc analysis. You have all different ways to kind of figure out who the players are on your team so that you can leverage their strengths and maximize the potential and productivity in your organization. If you have not done this, my friends, you are missing out. Please stop whatever you're doing and put something in place where you can see the strengths, the contributions, the expertise that the members of your team bring to the table. That is a surefire way of managing staff and delegating effectively. But let's not forget about the accountability piece. How can we delegate, delegate, delegate with the 4 W's and give the SMART goals for the clear communication and match people's strengths and expertise with the tasks that they're assigned and not have no accountability? Not a good mix. So, ways, a strategy that you can maximize on accountability is do some sort of project tracker to manage progress or to monitor progress. So, maybe it's a project management checklist where you all checking off who did what. This goes back to the delegation and the follow up, but also the accountability piece, like who's taking care of what, where are we in the process. My business partner does a project status report that kind of outlines, okay, this is what we said we were going to do, this is where we are, this is what still needs to happen. So that is just a strategy for accountability purposes. And last but not least is feedback and openness. Feedback is a gift. I'm gonna make you sick of it the way I was sick of it. But when I tell you I appreciate the nugget, I appreciate the nugget. Feedback is truly a gift. It helps to close the loop and also helps promote continuous improvement. So, what kind of strategy can you give for feedback and openness? I'm glad you asked. Establish feedback loops. Have regular one on one meetings, have check ins, ask for feedback. when you do a big ticket items, right? So I like to do a reflection. How did it go? What went well? What didn't go so well? I implemented glows and grows and uh, next step strategy, right? So what? Tell me something that's going well. Tell me something that's not going so well. How can I support you? What's our next step? So you always want to establish feedback loops and regular one-on-one check. So we did a self-assessment. We got some talking points. We got some strategies. And now it's time for you to implement what we've learned by asking yourself these reflection questions. Number one, how can I better align my team's skills with their responsibilities? What tasks am I holding onto that I can delegate? Question three, how do I communicate expectations effectively? Number four, what systems do I have for tracking progress and accountability? And number five, how can I foster a culture of feedback in my team? So now let's get to the takeaways, the key takeaways to manage and delegate effectively. We're going to summarize this with another acronym, TQA fashion, of course, manage. So, one, we're going to match tasks to strengths. Here is where we're going to align responsibilities with our team members' skills and strengths. We're going to articulate expectations clearly. We're going to utilize our SMART goal strategy to make sure that everybody is on the same page as what success looks like in our organization. We're going to nurture accountability. We're going to use some tracking tools, project management tools to monitor progress. A, assess and adapt. We're going to regularly review delegation outcomes and adjust. Remember, we're going to use that form to say who's doing what and what your part is being played in and what do you need and how can I support you. So we're going to assess and adapt. We're also going to give and receive feedback generously. Remember, say it with me, feedback is a gift. And we're going to make sure that we provide and receive constructive and regular feedback. And lastly, we're going to empower our team members. We're going to delegate. And we know that delegating means that we're trusting, developing, and empowering our team members to take ownership and take risk of tasks. And that's our key takeaways from this session. I think we can honestly say that we met today's objective. Our objective was to equip leaders, and so we've equipped you with actionable strategies to develop skills in managing staff and delegating effectively to enhance team performance and foster a collaborative work environment. So take a moment to drop in the chat box for me. What is one key takeaway or insight that resonated with you the most and why? I know for me, um, I love to see information summarized in acronym form because it's easier for me to remember. And so a takeaway for me is always having the takeaways uh, in an acronym form so I can kind of walk myself through the process when I'm actually faced with these different scenarios and situations, like, okay, did I manage? Did I do this? Did I? And so remembering with the acronym, it helps me to kind of check off what I need to remember to do so that I can stay grounded and stay encouraged. Because look, leadership is not easy, okay? But I want to make sure that you have the tools in your toolbox for you to be successful. Who would we be without a call to action with giving you some next steps and commitments? So, first thing, huge announcement. I want to let you know that I am currently in another country. I am international. I'm back to being international again, or the Culture Academy is back to being international. We serve from an international location. And so, as a result of that, we want to be live with you for Saturday schools. So, we are changing our time. We are changing our time to reflect a comparable time for the international life, but also a time for you all. So our next Saturday school is going to be Saturday, February 1st at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Once again, Saturday schools is moving to a different time to support both the international time zone as well as the stateside time zone. So Saturday, February 1st at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. But guess what? We are always available for consultation by our Calendly link, which is there on the screen for you. And we also have content that is out there that you can rely on. You can join and engage with us. So basically, don't just be a spectator, be a participator and join and engage on our social media platforms. And also your commitment, your challenge for today's session or from today's session is to remember the acronym MANAGE, but not only just remember the acronym, do something with it, please. Okay, thank you. It's no time like the present to remind you of some of our booming packages. Yes, shameless plug. Well, first of all, it's not shameless. It's not even shameful because guess what? This is what we do here at the Coach Academy. We are here to serve you. So why not take advantage of one of our packages called Planning is Key, where we kickstart, execute, and yield results. That's one way that you can work with us by that package. Planning is Key. We also have the Roadmap to Success package where we talk about our GPS framework. We're gathering data and insights, planning objectives and KPIs, and strategizing and executing. So that's another package that we have available to you. We also have the It's a Wrap package where we do our CPR framework. We celebrate, we reflect, and we plan. We toast to the triumphs, we look at lessons learned, and we plan for the future. These are all great booming packages where people have leaders have really taken advantage of making sure that they're ready for their next, because remember, if you stay ready you don't have to get ready. What if you are that aspiring leader who hasn't even landed the position? Guess what? We have the Land the Job package for you. This package includes an opportunity for a resume audit, an interview prep, and a future plans framework. And so we are so excited to offer this package to you as well. There is something for everyone at the Culture Academy, LLC. As always, we want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Arigato gozaimasu. That'll give you a little clue of where I'm at for all of your support over this past year with the Coach Academy LLC. We are 1 year old. We are super excited for the work that is happening and that will happen in 2025. And if you want to know more, if you want to stay connected, here are some ways that you can do that. First of all, you see this beautiful QR code on your screen. That is our digital business card where all of our links to all of our social media platforms are found there. You can find us on Facebook, you can find us on Instagram, you can find us on LinkedIn, and you can find us on X, formerly known as Twitter. We hear that some of these platforms are going away. But guess what? Until they go away, guess who's going to be there? The Coach Academy LLC. And let's not forget YouTube, where you're watching this right now. We definitely need to put a YouTube insignia on there as well. So listen, don't just be a spectator. Be a spectator, but a participator. Join and engage. But we want to say again, thank you so much. Thank you for celebrating our 1 year anniversary together with us on this first Saturday of the new year 2025. Until next time, guys. Bye.